There's hydrogen and helium, then lithium, beryllium, boron, carbon everywhere, nitrogen all through the air with oxygen so you can breathe, and fluorine for your pretty teeth, neon to light up the sign, sodium for salty times.
Morning! How are you doing today? I hope you had a good weekend. We've been talking about geology in our science class, which is the study of the Earth. Now, last week we talked about the stuff on the top of the Earth. Do you remember what that's called? That stuff is called topsoil. It's made up of dried up, decayed, rotted out plants and bits of rock that have been worn down to make dirt. Okay, but my question is that what happens when that dirt gets taken away? Oh, why does the dirt get taken away? I'm not talking about digging holes and stuff like that. I'm talking about something called erosion. You ever heard of it? Erosion. You see, what happens is that dirt, there's nothing really holding it there, is it? Except gravity. So sometimes the wind will come along, or the rain will come along, and it will sweep that dirt away. And as it sweeps the dirt away, that's called erosion. It usually happens with wind or with water, but other things can cause it too. Have you ever looked outside in the middle of when it's really, really raining heavily here in Roatan? Sometimes you'll see that the bay is full of mud. Well, where did that mud come from? It came from the water coming down and washing that topsoil away into the ocean. Okay, the word for that is erosion. And erosion happens all the time. We see it a lot with rain because it rains half the year in Roatan, but wind also does it. Of course, the wind blows away dirt because you've seen it happen before. But it also, wind and water also blow away rock too. Here's what rock looks like after it's been hit by many years of erosion. You say, Mr. Matt, that can't happen. Why not? Well, water, it's not that strong enough. Water can't do that to rock. Well, you're right. One drop of water can't do it to rock. But drop after drop after drop after drop after drop over how many years can do that to rock? And of course, sometimes, because that's what erosion looks like when it happens really slowly. Sometimes it happens really, really fast. Then you get things that look like this. That's a mudslide. It's things where the water and the wind have caused erosion to happen to the topsoil. It's carried it away, and now there's nothing holding the rocks there, the trees there, so they slide down the hill or the mountain, whatever, and they cause a big mess. But water is also really good for erosion. And that's when you get things like floods. You know what a flood is, of course. Roatan floods all the time. That's when you get a whole bunch of water. It comes crashing down and it brings along with it more dirt and more trees and more rocks and things like that. And it causes erosion to happen very quickly. That's why floods are so dangerous. It's not just the water, it's the stuff that the water carries down with it, the stuff that it has eroded. This here is the Grand Canyon, the biggest hole in the earth. It's in the United States, in the state of Arizona. And a lot of people think that the biggest flood that ever happened may have caused this, the flood from the Bible. See, when God was done flooding the world in the story in the book of Genesis with Noah, all that water had to go somewhere, right? So when he pulled it back to form the oceans, or whatever he did with it, as it swept by, it may have eroded that big old hole in the ground and made the Grand Canyon. We don't know. We can't prove it. We weren't there. But that's what we think has happened. But this is called erosion. It's when wind rain or other things come and sweep the dirt, the topsoil, or sometimes other layers of soil away from the earth. Okay. Every time it rains, every time there's wind, there's erosion happening. Every time there's wind or rain happening here on Roatan, erosion is happening. Don't think that means that this island is going to suddenly disappear into the ocean. Some people think it's going to happen. It's not going to happen. It'll take hundreds and thousands of years for this island to disappear into the ocean. So you don't have to worry about that. But it happens little by little by little by little by little over a long period of time. And as it happens, it's called erosion. Okay? All right, that's our science lesson for today. It was a nice short one. So let's go over our questions real quick. Question number 1, what is the top layer of dirt on the Earth's crust called? We talked about this last week. It's called topsoil. Topsoil. Question number 2, when rain, wind, or other things remove that top layer, what is that called? That's called erosion. Erosion. It can happen to dirt. It can happen to rock. It can happen to it can happen to buildings. It can happen to anything that stands outside for too long in the wind and the rain and the weather. And finally, question number 3, what is too much water in an area called? You should know this one already. That is a flood. That's a flood. Okay. That's our science lesson for today. Like I said, nice and short. Tomorrow, we'll talk about rocks. Yes, we will finish up with geology tomorrow. We talk about rocks and where they come from, what they're made of, and what happens to them. So come back tomorrow to see us talk about rocks. Goodbye.